Hi, everybody. This is Maya, and this is Veda Day 23. And as you can tell from my channel, I failed at Veda. This month did not go according to plan, but that's okay because I have been working really hard on the outlines for my novels. I've also I got a work injury, so that kind of set me back for a couple days. And right now, I am looking at the completed 4-page synopsis for book one. Here it is, all these pages of outline, and I'm pretty proud of myself. Actually, it's almost 5 pages of outline. And so, what am I going to do now? I have two options. I can go on and create detailed outlines for the other 4 books, or I can work on this, clean it up, and get writing on this. And I'm leaning towards that second option. My goal is to have these books done because by the end of summer, at least the rough drafts done by the end of summer, because I have some money coming and I would like to start submitting them to editors and getting them cleaned up and getting them in some form of publishability ASAP when the money comes in. And so it'd be good if I could have the rough drafts done. And I've been doing a lot of research on fast drafting, and that's where you really just take the wheels off, you put the inner editor aside, and you knock out a rough draft as fast as possible. It is one version of that would be NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo is a form of fast drafting. And I found that NaNoWriMo really helped me step out of my way so that I was able to complete my novels more quickly. But I completed my first novel's rough draft in the summer after NaNoWriMo. I won NaNoWriMo, but then I kept writing the book through the rest of the year. And it took me a really long time to write the last, 10,000 words. And I think part of that is because writing without all that emotional support is very different than writing when you are also writing with a bunch of writers. And so I'm thinking that this would be a good opportunity for me to prove to myself that I can complete a novel without that level of support. And I'm starting to really like the story of the first book. Like, really, really like it. And I'm debating, the downside of finishing the first book and then finishing the outlines for the other books is it'll be harder for me to go back and change things if I want to like hint at things that are going to happen in other books. It's harder to go back and do that. I'll have to do that during the edit. It may make the edit more difficult. But I feel like I've got a good enough handle on what's going to happen in the other books that I think I'm going to be okay. So, what I'm doing right now is this is an extremely rough outline. And if I'm going to fast draft this, I want my outline to be really specific. I want to know what each scene is, what each scene's conflict is, whether it is a resolution scene or whether it is a conflict scene. I want all of that in advance so that when I open up my Scrivener, every single scene has that information. I can just go from one scene to the next because I know exactly what's going to happen. Also, I feel like the story, there are some holes in it. It's not complete. So tonight and tomorrow morning, I'm going to go over it a couple times and really clean up the loose edges and make sure that each scene is propelling the story forward. And then I'm probably going to start working on the second outline. I If I decide to fast draft this, I'm actually considering something kind of crazy. There have been a couple novelists that have talked about finishing a rough draft in just a couple days, and I'm thinking I'm going to try it with this book one. I feel like it's a good story and it's simple enough. Like, there isn't a whole lot of characters, there's just a few characters, and there's two storylines. And I feel like this would be a really good opportunity to practice that fast drafting technique just to see if I can do it, see what it feels like. Just as an internal goal to myself, because I really set out on this NaNoWriMo with a huge goal for myself and I totally failed. And if I could fast draft this in a couple days, could walk away from this feeling like I met my goal. And so it is something I'm seriously considering. The thing is, I've known people that have completed NaNoWriMo in a day or two. but I don't have access to them to ask them questions and get advice. And so I'm just debating back and forth. And I think what I'm going to do is once I've gone through this outline, I'm going to let my gut decide. If my gut feels like it's ready, then I'm just going to do it. And I'm getting that sense. There's a feeling right before when I'm outlining a story, I feel like I'm crafting something. I feel like I'm working clay. And then all of a sudden, there's like a light bulb that goes off that says, it's time to write this. And it propels me to write. And up until that point, it's hard to write and it's difficult to write. And I don't want to. But once that clicks in, it's like I can't not write. And I'm starting to get the sense that I'm starting to get that feeling. And so we're going to see what happens. I'm happy with this rough draft outline. I really wish I had somebody that I could go over outlines with, because it's much easier to change an outline than it is to change a novel. And it'd be nice if I had like a critique partner where we critiqued each other's outlines. Like that would be so awesome. And when I think about that, I'm just like, oh, that's exactly what I need. I need to take someone's outline, read it, find loopholes, find spots where it's not exciting, find scenes where there's no conflict, like, and have somebody do that for me would just be awesome. So that's something I'm definitely considering for the future. I think that would be really good for me. It would be nice if tomorrow I could start working on book two's outline. And, as I'm fast draft, and then when I'm done fast drafting, work on book three's outline, and then fast draft book two, that kind of thing. I'm not sure. Like, I really feel like this is a good opportunity to test this theory because the story has two main characters. There's like eight side characters, no, nine side characters, two plot lines. Um, and I feel like I can write this quickly, whereas my other fiction, I definitely need more time to chew on it and I write it more slowly. I feel like this particular novel would lend itself well to this kind of practice. Why do I want to practice fast drafting? I feel like when you get your subconscious out of the way, amazing things come through. But also, just as a self challenge, because part of me still wonders if I'm capable of doing this. Part of me still wonders if I'm really a writer, which is ridiculous because I'm totally a writer. Also, I kind of feel like these novels are practice and fast drafting five novels, editing five novels, even if they're not my normal genre, I'm going to learn so much from that. And if I practice a different technique for each one, if like the first book I fast drafted in 2 days, and let's say I use I have a couple editing classes through Udemy, maybe use one of those editing classes for the editing. And then when it comes to book two, maybe take a month to do that one, or 2 months, or 3 months, use a different editing process. Just test out different writing theories for each book. I feel like by the end, I will have gained some really serious skills and found techniques that worked well for me. I kind of want to use these novels as practice, like I did with my short stories. When I wrote what 5 short stories, 8 short stories last summer, I really did use a different technique for each one. I edited each one differently. I submitted one of them to an editor and got back notes. And I used those notes as I was editing other short stories. And I learned a lot because I was practicing different skills with each one. And I kind of feel like I want to do that with these novels because these aren't the novels I'm going to be known by. These are going to be all be under a pen name. That pen name is never going to be attached to me. I'm not going to be letting people know, like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be telling people where or when these novels are, because my ultimate goal is to become a really good literary novelist. And the goal for these books is to make that financially possible. And so I don't want any connection between the two. But I do feel like if I'm going to do this, I don't want to just knock out a bunch of genre novels to make money. I want to use this opportunity to learn to be a better writer. In this particular genre, there's a lot of bad books. I'm not going to just knock out more bad books. I want to make good books. And I feel like if I practice different drafting techniques, practice different outlining techniques, maybe for book two, I've been thinking about, instead of using the snowflake method, because I've used the snowflake method up until now, but I'm thinking about for book two, taking my final outline and looking at it through the lens of the seven plot point, the Brandon Sanderson method, and figuring out my pinch and my midpoint. And then for book three, maybe I have a copy of writing a breakout novel, maybe using that for that outline, and just practicing different things with each book. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm really leaning towards fast drafting this book because I feel like I need to get it out. Like, it looks good. I like where the story is. I like the characters. It's a fast-paced novel, and I feel like fast-paced novels lend themselves to fast drafting. There's not a whole lot of research needed for this novel. There's a couple places, but not that much. And so this, of all of the books, I think this one would lend itself most to the fast drafting technique. So we'll see. I'm really happy with it. I am totally fine with having failed Veda. I wanted to do it every single day, but frankly, with everything else going on in my life, I'm just proud of myself that I kept writing. I've only written like just under 9,000 words right now, but 9,000 words of an outline is way more work than 9,000 words of a novel. Outlining just takes all my emotional energy, and if I spend an hour brainstorming at the end, I'm drenched in sweat and I'm ready to fall asleep. Outlining is such an intense creative process for me that I am fine with that. And at the end of it, by tomorrow, I'll probably have added a couple thousand extra words, and I'll have all of my my scenes split up in Scrivener, and then it's just a matter of making the decision. Like, do I want to spend 2 days fast drafting just to prove that I can? Or do I want to write it over the course of 3 or 4 months? What, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I am leaning towards fast drafting though. I kind of want to see if I can do it. I broke it out, and if I were to do it over 2 days, it'd be like 1,000 words every hour. And the one time I wrote the most that I'd ever written, I wrote every hour on the hour around the clock. And I'm thinking I could do that for 2 days. I would have to group a couple of the hours together so I could get in a couple naps. But I could do that. And I felt like when I did that before, the writing, the 10,000 words that I wrote during that intense writing day was actually better than a lot of the work that I had written where it was more spread out. And I think it was just because I was writing so quickly, and I was writing on a schedule, and my alarm would go off and I'd get up and I'd write. And at the end, there was less thinking. I was able to get out of my brain and just let my gut take over. And those 11,000 words are probably the least, like when I edit my book, when I edit past, those 11,000 words that I wrote in one day are the cleanest words of all the words. They have more typos, but the content is cleaner. The dialogue is so dynamic and natural compared to the rest of the book. And I think it was because I was writing it too fast to second guess myself. So we'll see. If you've ever considered doing something like this, like if you're one of those people that's done a double NaNoWriMo or has finished NaNoWriMo on day one or something like that, go ahead and leave a message in the down bar, because I would like to talk to you and just get some ideas of, like, what did you find that was helpful? What didn't you find that was helpful? Is it something you would do again? Those types of things. So on that note, ciao.